Now, this is part two of a two-part video series on the 4 hacks to increase your confidence as a coach. If you missed part one, we'll put a link down there in the description so you can watch it. And these last two ones relate to one of the biggest challenges out there, which is imposter syndrome. Enjoy.
Today is part two of the 4 hacks to increase your confidence when coaching a client. And coaching the clients is the target that way too many people are not focusing on, I think. You hear me say this all the time, but it always bears repeating because almost every problem that I see that coaches have will come down to this issue. It'll come down to the lack of certainty as a coach. If you have certainty as a coach, you're going to understand content differently. You're going to teach content differently. You're going to be more convicted. So you can, there's always going to be challenges in marketing. Like, should I do this? Should I post on this platform? Or should I sell this thing? Or should I price it this way? Those are just marketing questions. That's not what stops people. What stops people are internal problems, internal conflicts. There's a difference between an internal conflict and an external challenge. There's no such thing as building a business without external challenges, because you never know what's going to work. It's impossible to know what's going to work in the future. Those are external challenges. They can be frustrating. They can get difficult. You can put a lot of time and energy and be wrong. So there are business strategic challenges that you're never going to be able to get rid of if you're wanting to build a business. But then there are internal conflicts. And when you have internal conflicts, your strategic challenges can't fix those. Like, getting the challenges right can't fix the internal conflicts. And having these internal conflicts make the external challenges 100 times scarier and more intimidating and more frustrating. So it's the internal game that really determines whether somebody is going to succeed or not. That's not unique to the coaching industry, but it also happens in the coaching industry. So I believe that the reason most coaches fail is because they don't have the internal certainty in order to be at a place where they can figure out the external challenges of building a business. All right, so let's get into these next 2 hacks or tips or strategies to increase your confidence when coaching clients. In part 1, I talked about having confidence in the person, not just confidence in the process. And I also talked about having certainty over just surface level confidence. So those are the first 2 elements here. These 2 that I'm going to get in today are really at the core of the solution for most people's imposter syndrome. That's a scientific or psychological rather term. Like, that's a real term in the psychology world, I believe. But it's taken on its own kind of life in the coaching world. People talk about it a lot, and it's a real thing for a lot of people, myself included. Every once in a while, I still feel it. And early on, I felt it a lot. So if you can resonate with the idea of imposter syndrome, which is something like, what if they find out that I'm actually not as good as I am, or I'm not as successful as I want to be, or what if they find out that I'm flawed, or what if I'm exposed? Some version of the fear of being seen as an imposter. That's what this is. If you've felt any of that, any version of that, then number 1, let us know. Just type a comment in so that everybody else knows that you're not alone, right? Pretty much all of us are going to feel that, especially early on in our journey. And the first thing I want to say is your imposter syndrome actually makes you a better coach, because it means that you're connected to your humanity, and it means that you give a damn. It means you really care about people and you really want to help people. So I'm not in favor of getting rid of imposter syndrome to the point where you can just pretend you don't care what other people think. People who don't care what other people think, there's a term for them too. They're called sociopaths. And becoming a sociopath is actually not the best way to be a good coach. And it's not the best way to change somebody's life. So I don't ever want you to get to the point where you literally don't care what anybody thinks. I just want you to get to the point where imposter syndrome, that is to some degree natural, it doesn't stop you. You're going to have more conviction to keep going than you are to protect yourself, which is what the core of imposter syndrome is, right? So it's the negative head talk of I'm not good enough, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm not this, I'm too much that. And what if they find out? Now, if that negative head talk is in your brain, what I can virtually guarantee you is you will be afraid of the spotlight, because the essence of imposter syndrome is people finding out, which means people might see you. And if you think about this for a moment, pretty much all of our marketing strategies and sales strategies are based upon visibility. People have to see you to choose you. People have to see you to, or some version of you or your brand, in order to opt into an email list or go to a sales page or something. People need to see you to trust you. But imposter syndrome is trying to make sure you're not seen. That's why this is such a conflict for so many people. And we got to attack it head on. We have to dissolve it. You can't just get around it. Don't try to overcompensate for your fear of being seen. That overcompensation is actually going to do more damage than to dissolve the fear of being seen. Which is possible, by the way, to absolutely dissolve the fear of being seen, but not in an overcompensation way. So there are two things that I'm going to give you that will help start the dissolving of this. The first one is to recognize the value of and then commit to coaching like a client, not like a coach. Because our ideas of what a coach looks like and what coaches say are based upon what we see. They're based upon what we've experienced maybe with other coaches and what they've said to us, or what we see on YouTube videos, or what we see in whatever the coach's marketing is, or on stage or whatever. And so we see the top of the iceberg, what's above the surface of the water. We don't see all of what's below. And really, really good coaches have had hours and hours, dozens, maybe hundreds of hours, for me, thousands of hours of being coached. So we were doing a demo day not too long ago, and Michelle made a comment that the person that was doing, actually, I don't know if it was a demo day. I think it was a different group that we have, but she made a comment that the person that was doing the coaching demo coaches like a client. And it was a really profound comment. It's something that I don't remember talking about. I don't think I remember her saying, but the idea that he coaches like a client. So the idea that somebody coaches like a client, first of all, virtually nobody is going to be able to make that assessment except somebody who has a master level experience of coaching. It's one of those below the surface awarenesses that most people are not going to have. So you're not going to have a client likely ever tell you, you know what I really like about you is that you coach like a client. They won't have the awareness. It's something that you have to like really deeply dive into the coaching philosophies, and you kind of need to be a geek about some of this stuff in order to see that this person isn't coaching like a coach, they're coaching like a client. It's like if you see somebody teaching and they're teaching at a different level, what you're watching is somebody who's teaching like a student, not somebody who's just teaching like a teacher. Teaching like a student and coaching like a client requires you to be in the seat. It requires you to be in the student seat, you to be in the client seat. And the more that you are in the client seat, the better coach you will be for all kinds of reasons. One of the main reasons is you will advocate for people to make shifts that you have made as a client. You'll advocate for them more, but it'll be clean. It won't be with shame or pressure, and you won't be trying to coach people to appease your own ego, to try to prove that you're a really good coach. You'll just be cleanly advocating for the shift that a client can make because you made that shift as a client. And that kind of advocacy is what allows people to hold space in a different way than coaches who coach like coaches only. So your ability to have empathy, your ability to sit in trust of yourself as the coach and them as the client, your ability to be calm and present and settled in your own energy and to trust the process, your ability to connect, to have that empathetic connection with your other people, the ability to ask powerful questions, your ability to facilitate a transformation. Those are below the surface abilities that actually have nothing to do with the exercises that you are performing or the tools that you're using. I mean, they have something to do with it if they are informing your coaching. But somebody can have the exercises and have the tools, but not have all those below the surface things, and they just won't be a powerful coach because there's got to be the foundation underneath. And that's why you being a client is going to be one of the things that helps you become a better coach. Michelle said this a bunch, that private coaching is the best investment she makes in her clients. Not just in herself, the best investment she makes in her clients. Because when we are a client, we're catching concepts differently, but we're absorbing them literally like in a different mode. And then we use it to teach or we use it to coach, and it hits people differently. I don't think it's anything that I can accurately articulate any better than I've done so far as to like what you would see or what somebody else would see or what somebody else would feel when a teacher is teaching like a student or when a coach is coaching like a client. But I can promise you people feel it. There's just something, and they probably won't have any conscious awareness, but there's just something. And I think it comes down to understanding. I think when you understand the coaching process because you've been through it as a client, or you understand the concept that you're teaching because you've been through it as a student, it's that desire to understand and then absorbing it from that place of understanding that then allows you to teach it in a way that makes it easier for other people to understand. Or it allows you to use it in a coaching environment that helps other people understand and also feel safe in all of it. So that is it's like an invisible change that you can make that I promise you will be monumental. It will help you sell better. It will help you market better. It will help you message better. It will help you do all the things better that most people are trying to find ways to do better from top down. What I'm telling you is from bottom up, it will make all of those things better. And there's like this line that you'll never be able to penetrate downward if all you do is above the surface work. All you do is try to recreate what you see above the surface of the iceberg. There's a line that you'll never be able to penetrate, and people can feel it. And you just simply won't be as good of a coach as you possibly could be. And that's not this like moral argument that I'm trying to make that you should be a really good coach. What it is, I'm not just saying like, you just need to be a good coach because you need to be a good coach because the coaching industry deserves good coaches because clients deserve good coaches. Although I believe all of that. What I'm saying is for you, if you don't implement some of these things, you will struggle because the strategies don't matter. The strategies cannot overpower the internal conflicts. So I'm saying this for your success as a coach. And if you've tried a bunch of things, if you've implemented a bunch of campaigns that should have worked better and you just weren't attracting who you thought you were going to attract, or you didn't make the money and you've been frustrated with your results, what I can virtually promise you is that there's a depth into your certainty, and that's the invitation for you to go deeper, because then that will bounce back up and create more success externally and above the surface of the water. I've just seen it all the time. And I can't remember a time actually when strategies weren't working for somebody who was deeply certain and convicted in their ability to do this work. Even if stuff doesn't work the way you think it's going to work, it won't be emotionally destroying because you've got the certainty and you've got the conviction and you're just going to pivot. So when somebody is not pivoting and just trying the next thing in business, which I would say 95% of the people are not doing that, it's because of this issue. All right. The last thing here in the 4 hacks of increasing confidence, and the second thing of this video today is about the essence of transformational coaching at its core. The reason that I think a lot of people have imposter syndrome, and a lot of people have a fear of visibility, and a lot of people have almost all the performance fears that we have, is because we're going to mess it up. We're afraid of messing it up. We're afraid of not performing. We're afraid of not performing on stage. We're afraid of not performing in our coaching call, and we're afraid of people not liking us, or we're afraid of some version of us not performing, right? And so the core of our fear of not performing is that we won't do it right. We won't do it perfect. We won't impress them. They won't like us. So we've got this conditional performance that's in our brains all the time. And pretty much all of us have this because it's part of human society programming, where we need to fulfill certain conditions, meaning we need to perform a certain way or not do certain things, like not mess up, not break the rules, not be an embarrassment to our parents or anybody else that is claiming us. We need to do certain things and not do certain things in order for us to be okay, in order for us to be loved, in order for us to be protected, in order for us to not be abandoned, in order for us to be approved of, in order for us to be purchased. We need to perform. And so the imposter syndrome is really performance anxiety. If we dissect it in a coaching context, what gets so many people anxious is the idea that you won't say the right thing. The idea that you won't be able to answer somebody's questions correctly. The idea that if they have a certain issue, you won't know what to do with it. It's performance-based. And if we trace that down a little bit, really what that means is we're afraid of not having the answers. We're afraid of not being able to predict the way this is going to go and be able to have all the answers for everybody's questions that they could possibly ask. And if you are a coach who coaches humans, that condition is impossible. Of course, you can't have all the answers. But you can remind yourself that coaching is not about being an answering machine. Coaching is about being an asking machine, especially transformational coaching. When we're trying to dive down and help find internal answers that people have inside, you are an explorer. You're not an explainer. You're exploring people's mindsets. You're exploring beliefs. You're exploring conflicts. You're exploring perspectives. You're not giving your answer to their questions. You're not solving their problems with your solutions. Now, the more you coach, you might be more informed, and most people that have this issue, you can find the solutions in these particular relationships or these concepts, but you're still never really truly just answering people's questions and giving them your solutions. If you are, you're actually doing a disservice to them most of the time. Now, again, I'm talking about transformational coaching. coaching that can change the way people experience their lives on the planet, coaching that can change the way people feel about themselves or feel about their relationships, their marriages, their children, their parents, increase their self-esteem. If you really want to change the way somebody operates on the planet, that's transformational coaching. In fact, we call it neurotransformational coaching because it has the ability to transform someone's neurology. It has literally the ability to transform people's experience of themselves and of life and of love. It has the ability to remove fears and dissolve traumas and all the things that we want to get rid of. And it has the ability to increase the stuff that we want to feel. That kind of coaching is more about exploring. It's more about asking informed questions. The way you ask really good informed questions is you study human behavior. You don't study coaching tools. You study human behavior that you will then be able to use coaching tools to support the transformation of. Too many people just focus on the tools and the exercises and do this thing. And when they say this, you say this. But if you don't understand human behavior, you'll never be able to pivot. You'll always just treat people like commodities, and you're just going to put them on your assembly line, and you're going to do the same thing with each person, and you're going to be miserable, and they won't get any breakthroughs because we are not commodities. But if you become a master level mechanic, let's say, you're not going to treat every single car the same way because you know this engine might be making similar sounds as that engine, but this engine is built differently. This engine has a certain hose that goes this way, and that engine is all digital or something, right? I don't know the actual terms and the distinctions of engines, but the engines could be different. And so as a master level mechanic, you're going to treat each car differently, and you're going to have to ask questions. You're going to need to turn it on, and you're going to need to hit the gas, and you're going to need to explore a little bit to see what the actual issue is. That's what neurotransformational coaching is really about. But what most people are looking for are the right things to do. You're looking for the right certification. You're looking for the right title for the programs. You're looking for the right campaign strategy. You're looking for the right marketing techniques. You're looking for the right platform to put the right posts on the right time at the right angle and with the right images and the right words and all the rights. And your commitment to make everything right will guarantee that everything is wrong. Because there is no such thing as right when it comes to human behavior. So don't be searching for the right thing to do. Get really good at understanding human behavior. Have a mastery level understanding as much as you can about how humans work, which is actually possible. Not only is it possible, it's not difficult learning. It just takes a while. It's not difficult learning. Like, you don't need to be a 4.0 kind of student. You don't need to understand science. You don't need to understand academic learning. It's actually very simple. It just takes a while. And what I promise you is that when you do this work, you'll fall into a deeper level of presence. You'll be able to understand. You'll be able to pivot. You'll have so much more certainty rather than what the intellect wants you to do, which is to predict what you're supposed to say, predict what they're going to say. And really all that is protection. It's protecting of your own ego because you don't want to be embarrassed, or you don't want to mess people up, or you just don't want to do the wrong thing. When you really understand neurotransformational coaching at a deep, deep level, there is no such thing as the wrong thing. There's just the thing that you chose. And you can always pivot from wherever you are. You can always pivot because we are dealing with a human brain that is malleable. And there is not a human that I've ever met that is unhealable. With all the traumas, with all the cemented in behavior patterns, I've not yet met a human that's unhealable. I've just met humans that are unwilling to heal. So if you understand this game, it's all doable. There's no such thing as right and wrong. And you can fundamentally transform people's lives from a place of certainty that will then lead to the confidence, that will then lead to the calmness, that will then lead to asking the quote unquote right questions in the quote unquote right way to get their responses that you're looking for. But it's got to come from the bottom up. That's the only way this is going to be emotionally stable for you. So to recap these 4 hacks, we want you to learn to source your confidence in the person, not the process. We want you to commit to certainty over confidence. People are not going to buy your certification. They're going to buy your certainty. And let me tell you, just getting certifications doesn't provide certainty. Most certified coaches don't have clients. The third one is to coach like a client, not a coach. Teach like a student, not a teacher. And the fourth one is don't be an answering machine, be an asking machine.
Now, if you like this video, check out that video right there where we talk about the 7 soft skills that you need to produce massive results for your clients and give raving reviews from them. They're going to tell all their friends. The essence of coaching is way more creative than it is scientific anyway. If you think coaching is about following this static set of rules,